Good evening and welcome. This is the Metaphysical Bible Hangout. I'm Reverend SherriDeniseJames, and we're going to have some fun tonight. We're starting with a new passage in Proverbs. We finally made it through that first 9 verses in chapter 4, and now it's time to move along to the next passage. So let's take a moment to open in prayer, and then I want to get into tonight. Oh, right where you are, let's just center ourselves and relax and know that this is going to be a good evening, that this is going to be a great class, that what the Spirit has for us will be received. And I thank you for the people that are gathered here today. I thank you for just utilizing this amazing process called metaphysical Bible interpretation to enrich their lives. And I ask that your perfect will be done, Spirit, in the name and the nature and the consciousness of I am. This prayer is so, and so it is. Okay, so we have a new passage, but there may be new people watching this on YouTube or on Facebook. So for that reason, I want to just take a moment and revisit the steps. And the steps are pretty simple. First of all, the guide for this is from Alden Studebaker's Wisdom for a Lifetime: How to Get the Bible Off the Shelf and Into Your Hands. We know that there are many people that have Bibles, but they pretty much live on their shelves. And so we want to endeavor to not be those people. We want to get those Bibles off the shelves and into our hands. This is intentionally, I'm building it this way because in an ideal world, I want this to be a daily practice for you, where you may not finish all 4 steps in a day, but maybe you might just do step 1. And tonight, that's what we're going to do. So it is in chapter 9 that he explains how to do metaphysical Bible interpretation. And so we're going to do step 1 tonight, but step 1 is to select, read, and study the scripture. Step 2 is to identify the key words and phrases. Step 3 is to develop interpretations for the words using the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, the Revealing Word, as well as a regular dictionary. And step 4 is to allow the metaphysical meaning to emerge, which means taking those definitions that you've developed, putting them back into the scripture, and then letting the meaning from that emerge. So that's the 4-step process that we'll be using. We're going to start with step 1 tonight. And I just want to say the power of metaphysical interpretation is really to get back of the nuance that is in that Hebrew language that the Bible was originally recorded in. English is a very flat language. Our words don't have multiple levels of meaning. And with the Hebrew language, each letter has 4 levels of meaning. So when you're putting letters together to form words, you're almost putting together a formula. My teacher, Dr. Will Coleman, says that if you've only read the Bible in English, then you haven't really read the Bible. And so it's getting back to that, as much as we can. I mean, we don't have the original. Let me say that. We have copies of the copies of the copies of the copies. But as best we can try to get behind the text that we do have. And that's part of what metaphysical Bible interpretation is about. The other part of that is that the Bible is threefold in nature. This is not a new thought idea. This comes from Origen, who was one of the Catholic Church fathers, that as history, it is a book of, or taken literally or physically, it's a book of history. Taken mentally, it is a book of morals. But taken spiritually, it is the book of the mysteries of being. And so you'll notice when we do the metaphysical Bible interpretation, we're always looking at each person in the story as being an aspect of ourselves. So if we were reading, I mean, we're doing Proverbs, so that's a not different, but it's not a story in the way that, we're accustomed to, like the Bible stories. But if we were doing, say, Joseph, the story of Joseph and the Potiphar's wife, Joseph is an aspect of our being. Potiphar is an aspect of our being. Potiphar's wife, the setting, the coat that she ends up, he ends up leaving behind as he flees from her advances. All of those things end up being aspects of our being, and we're watching how those things interact to understand some mechanism within ourselves and how we operate. So that's probably the uniqueness of metaphysical Bible interpretation, is that we're coming to the stories where we are all of the characters and all of the elements in the story, and we're looking at how they interact to be able to tease out the mystery of being that's being revealed in the story. Any question about that? Cool. Okay, so I want to start with the passage. I pulled it from the Anchor Bible commentary, and so I want to pull it up now. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So our first step in this process is just to read and write down our impressions. And so what I would ask is that if you have some paper or a journal, is to simply record your impressions. So we're going to read the passage, and then we're going to take 2 minutes. Seems I don't have my timer handy. We're going to take 2 minutes and write down our impressions. Can everyone see that? Okay, so this is from the Anchor Bible commentary. So it's not really a version in the truest sense. When the scholars that were building the Anchor Bible commentary endeavored to write their commentary, they went back and did their own translation, but it was never submitted, I guess, to be its own version. So it may coincide with some things that you see, it may not. But we're going to start right now with this version from the Anchor Bible commentary. And so maybe I'll start. Shamika, will you take verses 11 through 13?
I guide you in wisdom's way, lead you in routes of rectitude. In walking, your stride won't be hobbled, and if you run, you will not trip. Hold fast to discipline, don't let go, guard it, for it is your life.
Mm-hmm. Alita, will you take the next group, Shun the Way of Evil, 14 through 17?
Enter not on the way of the wicked, nor tread on the path of evildoers. Shun it, pass not upon it, veer away from it, then pass on. For they cannot sleep unless they've done harm. They're robbed of sleep if they've made no one stumble. For they feed on the food of evil, drink the wine of lawlessness.
Dr. Brenda,
Sherri, you're muted.
Yeah. Will you say, Dr. Brenda Belton, the last two?
The two paths, but the way of the righteousness is like the glow of dawn, shining even brighter till the day sets in. The way of the wicked is as the murk. They know not on what they may stumble.
Mm-hmm. So let's take just a few minutes, 2 minutes. In fact, I'm going to get my timer. Excuse me for 1 second. All right. So I'm gonna set a timer just for 2 minutes. No, 60 seconds. We don't need that long. And we're just gonna write down our impressions. We're just looking for what comes up from reading this version of it. All right, and so the timer is going. And it'll give us a gong when the minute is up, is complete. Okay. All right. Does anyone want to start with their impressions?
Well, the first line gives me the impression that wisdom is like a noun. It's a person. You know, it's not an action kind of situation. It's saying, I want to guide you in almost like you would be saying a person's way. So I want you to follow in the way of wisdom.
Mm-hmm. And I just noticed that my worksheet has a missing verse, verse 10. Attend, my son, take my words that the years of your life may increase. So anybody else, any other impressions? I know I picked up that promise of stability.
I picked up that now we're now on the move. Like these compared to the verses before, it's a time for action, and this is what we should be thinking about now that we're in action.
Mm-hmm. 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 Anybody else? Okay. So I want to go next to truth unity. Let me pull that. And we're doing verses 10 through 19. That was a left off by mistake there. Who else do we have? Constance, will you start with 10, 11, 12, and 13? Hold on, let me get the, there we go.
Hear, O my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of thy life shall be many. I have taught thee in the way of wisdom. I have led thee in paths of righteousness. When thou goest, thy steps shall not be strained. And if thou runnest, thou shalt not stumble.
And 13.
Take fast hold of instruction, let her not go.
Erlene, can I have you do 14? Let me pull it down, 14 through 17.
Enter not into the path of the wicked, and walk not in the way of evil men. Avoid it, pass by it, turn from it, and pass on. For they sleep not, except they do evil. And their sheep and their and their sleep is taken away, unless they cause some to fall. For they eat of the bread of wickedness and drink of the wine of violence.
Shamika, will you take 18 and 19?
But the path of the righteous is as the dawning light that shineth more and more into the perfect day. The way of the wicked is as darkness. They know not at what they stumble.
So let's take a moment and take a deep breath. One more time, a second breath. And on the third breath, I'm going to start the timer, and you just want to write down your impressions from this reading. The timer has started. Did anybody hear anything different?
In this one, I heard, I wrote down, being given instructions, imploring to hold fast to truth in the information provided, because in doing so, rewards to be had.
Yes, yes, yes. I know I heard how to live a long life and protection from missteps. And maybe it's a holdover from what was in the Anchor Bible commentary, but it was the part about basically when you go, your steps will be straight, and if you run, you won't stumble.
And you'll be able to sleep at night.
And you'll be able to sleep at night. Yes, yes, yes. Anybody else?
I think it's really interesting that here again, we see Solomon is starting this passage with hear. And once again, he wants us to listen to the words of the Lord, as opposed to, dealing with what we're seeing here. And I saw that throughout this.
Yes.
So, and I just thought that was interesting. That started, the passage off with, "Hear, O my son."
Yes. 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 Anyone else? Anything else? I think that's a good insight. I noticed that I have taught you in the way of wisdom. I have led you in paths of uprightness. Go ahead, Malayla.
Hey, I want to say something. I can't believe it. So, that's verse 424. Those are the same. Excuse me one second.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but your voice is kind of muffled.
Oh, I was saying that verse 424. I
Yes.
was just making a prayer for that day for myself. Because those are the numbers for my birthday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was making the same prayer for myself because I need to stop cussing. I was saying the same exact thing.
Yes. Well, we're gonna get to that. We're only going up to verse 19, but maybe Spirit needed you to pick up on verse 24.
Yes. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you. Anybody else? Anything else? I'm gonna mute you, Malayla, just because there's some background noise there. Anything else before we move on to another version? Okay. I want to give you the, and then this is going to be one you guys have to listen to because I don't know where an online source is for the Jewish Study Bible. All right. Same verses, but I think you'll hear something different. My son, heed and take in my words, and you will have many years of life. I instruct you in the way of wisdom. I guide you in straight courses. You will walk without breaking stride. When you run, you will not stumble. Hold fast to discipline. Do not let go. Keep it. It is your life. Do not enter on the path of the wicked. Do not walk on the way of evil men. Avoid it. Do not pass through it. Turn away from it. Pass it by. For they cannot sleep unless they have done evil. Unless they make someone fall, they are robbed of sleep. They eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of lawlessness. The path of the righteous is like radiant sunlight, ever brightening until noon. The way of the wicked is all darkness. They do not know what will make them stumble. So let's take a deep breath and exhale. One more time, another deep breath. And exhale. On the third time, I'll start the timer. Take a deep breath. And exhale. The timer is started. Anything different come up in this reading? Anything jump out at you?
The one thing that jumped out at me was, since I'm into the sleep part, the evil sleep better when they've done something wrong to somebody. As the other scripture was saying, you'll sleep better if you know, follow wisdom.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
it
Any other
took a
people?
little different
Mhm.
word or
Mhm.
explanation.
Yeah, yeah.
To
Dr. Brandon?
me, it was saying it's almost like life will be taking you down two paths. Either you can go down to the path of righteousness and wisdom, or you can go down the other path, which is foolishness and wickedness.
Yeah. Yeah. I got that too. I got what jumped out at me, because it's just what I focus on for myself, is the discipline. And it was that verse 13, hold fast to discipline. Do not let it go. Keep it. It is your life. And that stood out to me for a number of reasons. One, because there's a discipline I have about getting up in the morning. There's also a discipline that I've been doing recently about, food intake and whatever. And it was like, keep it, because it is your life. And I'm seeing that through the things that are being turned around, through the choices that I'm making, that I thought were just de facto, this was gonna be the character of my later years. And turns out, no. Hold fast to discipline. Do not let it go. Keep it. It is your life. Anybody else? Anything else that jumped out at you different from, say, the other readings?
I don't know if it was because I was just listening to you read it to me, but I kind of got the imagery of kind of like this inner concierge. And it's as if the person is being introduced to this inner concierge, and it's saying, this is the services that I offer you. First, this is what to do. And then not only do I give you guidance on what to do, but I can also give you insight on the inner workings of what's going on around you.
Yes, that's good. That's good, good. Yes. Yes. Anybody else?
I think the way that uh, anchor uh, explain things. You know, when you read it with this ASV, it's sort of like, okay, you get this, but then they seem to explain why you shouldn't go down these paths.
Yeah.
And it's like, I got it a little better.
Well, the ASV has got that language barrier, right? It's
Yeah.
got that what do I say, that what is that called? The these and thous and those. Yeah. So that gives it, that makes it a little bit harder to kind of dig into. All right. I'm going to go to first the NIV, because that's the one that came up first, and then I'm going to go to the New Revised Standard Version. So the divisions are verses 10 through 13, 14 through 17, and 18 and 19. Shamika, will you take 10 through, what did I say, 13, please?
Listen, my son, accept what I say, and the years of your life will be many. I instruct you in the way of wisdom and lead you along straight paths. When you walk, your steps will not be hampered. When you run, you will not stumble. Hold on to instruction. Do not let it go. Guard it well, for it is your life.
Alita, will you take 14 through 17? Oh, you're muted.
Do not set foot on the path of the wicked or walk in the way of evildoers. Avoid it. Do not travel on it. Turn from it and go on your way. For they cannot rest until they do evil. They are robbed of sleep till they make someone stumble. They eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence.
Dr. Brenda, will you take 18 and 19? Oh,
The path of the righteousness is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day. But the way of the wicked is like deep darkness. They do not know what makes them stumble.
All right, let's take a deep breath. And I should say this, I would say, I want to explain it. The reason we do the breath is that we're lowering the cortisol hormone. So the deep breath is there to bring us back down so that we can hear. The breath is, your breath is twofold in the sense that your emotions dialed up will change your breath, but you can also use your breath to dial down your emotions. And so the deep breath that I'm doing is that we're trying to get to listen to that voice within. All right, take a deep breath. One more time, deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And on the third breath, I'm going to start the timer. The timer is started. And you're just writing down your impressions. Anything new catch your attention in this version?
Reverend Sherri, I couldn't get out of my head. I couldn't get into a spiritual place because what I kept hearing was two things that my mother used to always say. A soft head, what would she say? A soft, wait a minute, soft head would make a
Hard head.
a hard head, make a soft behind. Oh Lord, I used to hear that. I don't know how I forgot that. And then the other one, she would say, if you don't listen, you make that bed hard to lie in. And that just kept going. I kept trying to get spiritual, but I couldn't get that out of my head.
That's because we needed that.
That's what was coming up for me is my mother's voice. Especially when I'm in a small town in Oklahoma coming to big California. And I was 18. She gave me all this. Now I know
But-
where she got it from.
Right.
She just worded it in her metaphysical meaning.
Right. That's so great. That's so great. Anybody else? Anything else?
I didn't get a mother's voice or anything, but I did get the impression that he was like, look, been there, done that. And I'm telling you, just follow my directions and all will be well. Because he's like, don't even try it, you know? So that's the impression I got along with everybody else's, you know, but we have to have our experiences.
You know, I want to be the one that don't have to touch the stove.
I touched it.
Right. I want some stoves I'm touching, and it's like, okay, I realize I got to touch those, but as much as I can, I try not to touch the stove. Anybody else? Anything else jump out at you? So this time I really 17 and the last part of 19 jumped out at me. They eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. And that caught my attention because it was, well, and the other part was that they don't know what makes them stumble. And it's almost like they are controlled by a force that they don't know how to, like they can't even see the puppet strings. But verse 17 gives you the puppet strings. They eat the bread of wickedness. That I heard this from a doctor. I told you guys I'm on this health, you know, learning about health and improving health. And what he said I thought was powerful. He said that you are whatever you ate 3 months ago, that's what constitutes your body right now. And your skin renews itself every 3 months. So everything that you were eating 3 months ago is what is appearing as you right now, at least physically. And it's like it's all dark. You're in deep darkness. You're eating the stuff, the bread of wickedness, the wine of violence, drinking the stuff that is creating the darkness. And you know, I have a relative who has some alcohol challenges. And his explanation is that, well, I have poor mental health. But what I know now about nutrition and diet and what you take in is that there may be a seed of that, right? There may be a seed of that, but it's exacerbated by the excessive alcohol. It's exacerbated by the foods that don't nurture. And the perceived stumble is, well, I have poor mental health. But really what's happening is that I'm taking this action that's causing the stumble. And I can't see it. I'm just too close to it or whatever.
So then they say the devil made me do it.
Right. Exactly. And it's like, no, it's verse 17. You are what you eat. And that means metaphorically, metaphysically, mentally, emotionally. You know, when everything was heating up in the US in terms of politics and all that, I honestly had to just turn it off, because the only thing that I have control over is the vote that I can cast. I don't have any control over anybody else's vote. I can advocate, I can, you know, encourage, I can, you know, but I don't have any control over someone else's vote. And so what I decided to do was, you know what, I'm going to vote my preferences, and then I'm going to detach from the outcome, because I can prosper in any climate. So in that sense, it was like that helped me to like come apart, because just watching the back and forth and is this going to work out or is this not going to work out, and all of that was just too much. It was mentally and emotionally draining. And that is a type of bread. That is a type of wine.
Do you remember when they had the Twinkie defense and the person got off with murdering people because he had been eating a lot of Twinkies?
No.
Yes. Look it up when you
I
get off.
remember that.
That's the craziest thing I ever heard.
Yeah, it was the sugar that had caused him to murder these people. He went into an office in San Francisco and he killed people who were in Congress, or it was some political stuff.
Okay, Jesus. Okay. Wow. No, I missed that entirely. I missed that.
Reverend Sherri,
Yeah.
what 17 made me think about is when, in the Bible, when it talks about Jesus was on the cross
Uh-huh.
and he said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And I mean, that has always resonated with me, even as a little child. I've always said, I must have been one of those people standing there because I really felt that. Because, truly, if you knew what you were doing, you would not have done that day.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Mm-hmm. Claudette, would you take 10 through 13? This is the new revised standard version. This will be the last version, then we'll look at some other supplemental material. Are
What
you
am I
there?
doing? What am I doing? Sorry.
Read for us verses 10 through 13. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, verses 10 through 13.
Hear my child and accept my words, that the years of your life may be many. I have taught you the way of wisdom. I have led you in the path of uprightness. When you walk, your step will not be hampered, and if you run, you will not stumble. Keep hold of instructions. Do not let go. Guard her, for she is your life.
Mhm. Thank you. Constance, will you take 14 through 17?
Do not enter the path of the wicked, and do not walk in the way of evildoers. Avoid it. Do not go on it. Turn away from it and pass on. For they cannot sleep unless they have done wrong. They are robbed of sleep unless they have made someone stumble. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence.
Malayla, are you there? You take verses 18 and 19.
All right. But the path of the righteous is like the light of dawn, which shines brighter and brighter until full day. The way of the wicked is like deep darkness. They do not know what they stumble over.
Take a deep breath. And exhale through the mouth. Take a deep breath, second breath, and exhale through the mouth. And on the third breath, I'll set the timer, and you're just writing down your impressions. Inhale and exhale. The timer is started. I got something good, but I want to hear from y'all first. What did anybody get anything? Anything new?
Well, in verse 19, it said that the wicked didn't know what they stumbled over.
Yeah.
They were in such deep darkness that they didn't know that they stumbled over wisdom and that they stumbled over truth.
Yeah. Yeah. That was good. Yes. I saw that too. Anybody else?
I had this other idea, right? So
Okay.
it's like, I don't remember what verse, it's toward the top. Keep hold of instruction, right? And then before that, I have taught you. I don't have it up.
Oh, okay.
right.
Hold on.
So,
okay. Go
and
ahead.
I was kind of getting a taste of this in the previous version, but in this version, it gave me an even more solid illustration or idea of, I have taught you the way of wisdom. It's kind of saying like, okay, I've told you about this weapon you have. I've told you how to use it. I've told you the practical applications of how to use it. Now you need to guard this weapon because now you're about to go out there. And so that's what I feel like from 11 to 13, it just gave me a really strong, like, I've equipped you. This is how you use it. It told us in the previous verses, you guard it in your heart. You have the feeling, you have the idea. That's how you're going to do it. Now, as you go about this journey, this is how you use that weapon.
Yeah. That's good. Good.
Yeah,
Anybody?
I like that too. I like that.
What I got, and it jumped out at me, that it's what you're eating. I have someone in the office where I'm working that is, well, I don't know what the person's problem is. I cannot. I had a conversation with the CEO today, and the person said to me, "So is there something between y'all?" I'm like, "No, there's no anything." And whatever it is, it's one-sided. The energy, right? It's one-sided, and then I realized it's what you're eating. Something that's being taken in is producing the energy that's going out. And I can't do anything about that because I can't control somebody else's mental diet or somebody else's spiritual diet. And so then what came to me is what you're consuming is consuming you. What you are consuming is consuming you. And that applies everywhere. When you think about alcohol, drink, drugs, whatever, sex, whatever, what you're consuming is consuming you. When you eat it, it's simultaneously eating you. And the question is it worth it? Anybody else?
Just on that piece that, we always hear about forgiveness and that you don't forgive for the other person, you have to forgive for you because it's eating you up.
Yes. That's it. And I don't want to be eaten up. I want everything I got.
I know that's right. You and me both.
Yes. I bless you and I let you go. So what I want to share with you in this next segment is just to give you guys some of the scholarship in the worksheet that we send next week. It will have, I'll have the printed versions. I'll also have verse 10 added. That was left off by mistake. But I'll have this supplemental material in there. But right now it's just listening. These are just the notes that I'm going to share with you. So this first one is from the New Revised Standard Version. And it says, the Father's instruction continues with the image of two alternate paths, that of wisdom, righteousness, or that of the wicked. It is a common image in the book. So, and then it gives the reference, chapter 1, verse 15, chapter 1, verse 15, chapter 3, verse 6. It gives, multiple references. So this comes up again and again, that this image of a book. In keeping with the binary way of understanding reality that is common in Proverbs, the ways of righteousness and wicked are compared to light and dark. So that's what we're seeing there. This basically, you got two paths that you can walk down. And I would venture to say that you've probably seen that in your family, where you were raised in the same family, raised by the same parents, but then you started walking in one direction and the other person started walking in another direction. And it didn't, when you started, you guys didn't look that far apart. But now, 20 years in, 30 years in, you are almost worlds apart. So because the paths diverge, and the direction that you walk determines the path that you move in. And you have the ability to change the path. You don't have to stay on the path. You can't go back and undo those 20 years, but what you can do is turn and face in a different direction and begin to walk in that direction. This is from the Jewish Study Bible. One who chooses the right course of behavior will naturally find himself going in the right direction and will prosper and be safe. One must avoid the twisted and murky path of the wicked, for the wicked live in turmoil and anxiety. And this is the part on discipline. The Hebrew word is musar, M-U-S-A-R, is one way wisdom is conveyed. It generally implies physical chastisement of some sort. Even this kind of teaching must be embraced passionately. The values of the wicked are twisted. They live on wickedness and lawlessness. That's from the Jewish Study Bible. Now, there's plenty more, but I'll go to this one because, Erlene, you brought this up. They cannot sleep. This is the note. According to Micah chapter 2, verse 1, the wicked lie awake planning wicked deeds, and thus too in Psalms 36:5. Here also the evildoers presumably devise evil machinations while lying awake, but their wakefulness is involuntary. They lie awake not in order to do evil, as in Micah and Psalms, but because they have not done it. The wicked have a need to cause harm. Their peace of mind depends upon it. They are not merely morally lazy, indifferent, or greedy for gain. Their corruption is deep-rooted, their characters warped to the core. Just as wild animals cannot lie down until they have taken prey, that's a reference to Numbers chapter 23, verse 24. So the wicked are compelled by nature and habit to do harm. What you think about that?
Scary to me.
Right. And I still say it comes back to what you eat. We never have an output problem. It is always an input problem. What are you taking in? Whatever you're taking in is on its way out. Whatever you are taking in is on its way out into expression. Any questions?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
You've said this a couple of times, and I just need to know the difference between the two. when we come to study the Bible metaphysically, we come to be changed at depth as opposed to being, can you finish that and tell me
Yeah.
what the difference is?
Sure. So, well, this is the Bible in general, right? But we come to scripture for the purpose of being changed. We are not looking to confirm bias. So the reason that we add the breathing in, and we're not just rushing through this, but we're taking our time, is that we've got our getting around our own bias is tough because we see the world the way we see the world, right? But what we want to do is to begin to listen for that voice of spirit. And that voice of spirit will come and will give us the seed or will give us the information that we need to move to the next level of our experience. Part of what's happening is that we're doing this in a small setting, but really you have to think of it over time, right? And this is why I talk about metaphysics as a daily habit. This is the kind of habit. I mean, we just read, it took longer because I had different people reading and then we had the timer and all that. But honestly, this could be a 20-minute practice in the morning where you take a passage of scripture, maybe it's a smaller passage, and you just read different versions of it and write down and journal your impressions. What happens is that there is a change that happens in you. And if you do that over time, who you are on day one will be completely different from who you are on day 30. It's just the truth. It's just how it happens. But the insights that you get on day 30, you could never have had if you had not done day 1 through 29. I have a book just dying to get out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Dying to get out of me because it's just like, come on, Sherri, come on. But where it grew from was 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 1 through 7. It's my favorite Bible story. It's the woman with the widow with the jar of oil. Mm-hmm. And that story, where that whole, what I'm teaching you now came from, was that when I was in my, dark night of the soul, I would wake up every morning and the only thing that I could do, I was in a mentally depressed state, maybe not clinical, but definitely like on the edge. And I would pull that story out and I would read that story and then I would just journal my insights. And there are things that I got that, and I did it for probably about 90 days. There are insights that I got that there's no way I could have gotten them on day one. When I read that story, I saw her as helpless when I first read the story. Mm-hmm. By day 30, I was able to see her agency and really what I came to understand was that she was her own miracle. She was her own miracle. And we attribute the miracle to Elisha, but in reality, he just gives her instructions for her to perform her own miracle. But I couldn't have seen that on day one. It took all of coming back to it, that then it's almost like cracking open the walnut or the coconut.
I think my question is where I'm always checking in with myself about that statement in terms of confirming bias. It's like, so when I read something and I'm like, yeah, it further helps me to understand what I believe, but I'm like, well, hold on. Are you confirming a bias? Or are you saying, and by reading the different versions and opening up for interpretation, that is what prevents us from confirming a bias?
Sure. So the first thing I would say is set the intention, because that's the part that you have control over.
Right.
So we don't change ourselves. We make ourselves available to God to be changed. So our job is to come with the openness. And honestly, you'll be in it and realize the change, but it's not necessarily like you're conscious through the process. You're setting an intention and coming with an open heart, with a willingness to let go of what you think you know.
I love that. Let go of what I think I know. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And change, again, we don't change ourselves.
Right.
We don't change ourselves. What we do is that we sow the seeds that make the results inevitable. So we're always in seed planting. The scripture says that I planted, Apollos watered, God gave the increase. That it's not, or maybe it says Apollos, anyway, whatever, that one. Okay. The point is that the growth is a God thing,
Yeah.
not a us thing. Wonderful. Great question. Anybody else? Anything else? Awesome. So we're going to close here tonight. When we come back together next week, we're going to talk about the keywords and phrases to look up. And we're just going to go through the scripture and identify them. We're going to make use of Truth Unity to look up words. And so what I would say during this week is take what we did tonight and then do that in your own life. Do a 20-minute, each morning and see what insights come. Like, prove this to yourself. These are, I believe in proving to yourself that this works. That's how I told her, that's how I got to tithing. I was like, I'm gonna tithe and I'm able to tell you if it works. And if it doesn't, I'm gonna go tell everybody, the Reverend Della Live, Reverend Mary, Catherine Ponder, all of them. And then I found out it works. But I was committed to proving them wrong and discovered my own prosperity journey in the process. The other piece is, so next week we'll come back. We'll have a new worksheet. We'll update the one that you have because it's missing verse 10. So we'll add that and we'll add in. So what I would say this week is on question number 1 is to write in your impressions, to write in the things that you got from reading the different versions, translate that onto the worksheet. And if you are watching this for the first time on Facebook or on YouTube, I would just encourage you to subscribe and leave a comment, hit that share button and tell somebody about it. There's probably somebody that you know that needs this, that you heard something and you're like, oh my God, if Katrina had heard this, send this to Katrina. That's how that works. And so I just thank you so much for being a part of tonight, and I will see you guys next week. And just a reminder, we will not meet on the 29th as I will be in Chicago, hanging out with Chicago. Yes.
And what are you doing tomorrow?
Oh my gosh. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much. I am participating in a happy hour tomorrow. Constance, God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. I am participating in a happy hour tomorrow as part of the Universal Foundation for Better Living. And let me see if I can grab this flyer. I don't know if I have it easily accessible. I'm sure I can find it. So the UFBL is putting together this talk that is, it's on your relationship with money matters. Your relationship with money matters, and it's going to be so good. I cannot wait. Here it is. Okay, let me share the screen, and I will be sharing the space. It's a Zoom. I'll be sharing the space with Terry Y. Crook. She's an entrepreneur, an author. She has a book, it's only halftime, Your Playbook to a Second Wind. So that is awesome. I'm really excited to share the space with her. It's only an hour. It's 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern. And it's on Zoom Live and it's on Facebook. And the meeting ID is 893-8587-8023. And if you're on my email list, I have an email already programmed to go out tomorrow morning. And the passcode is UFBL 1974. So, and there's a dial in if you just want to dial in and listen. Also, it's going to be recorded. So if you can't make tomorrow at 4 o'clock, it will be available probably almost immediately afterwards. So yes, thank you, Constance. Yay. Come be a part of that. That's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait. All right. Have a beautiful evening. I love and appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of the Bible Hangout. This is such a wonderful, this is what I love to do on Thursday nights. So I will see you guys next Thursday. Take care.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey there, before you go, I want to say thank you.
If you've made it this far, you've gotten to the end of the class, I want to say thank you for being here with us today. I have been doing the Bible Hangout since 2013, so 8 years. And I am always grateful for the new people who find me, who come be a part of this class. And so I want to encourage you, if you haven't already, could you go ahead and subscribe? I don't even know if that's showing up backwards or not. I'm not sure, but I think it is. Anyway, subscribe to the channel. I literally am 25 subscribers away from 1,000, and your subscription could actually kick it over the edge for me. All right, take care, and I will see you next Thursday.